an iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? And we are calling it iPhone.
From a garage in California to the world's first $3 trillion company, Apple redefined not just personal computing, but culture itself. This is the story of how three unlikely founders built an empire through vision, conflict, reinvention, and brilliance. This is the evolution of Apple. Steve Jobs was a college dropout with a passion for design and philosophy. Steve Wozniak was a brilliant self-taught engineer who loved to tinker with circuits. Ronald Wayne was an older, more experienced businessman who had previously worked with Jobs at Atari. Jobs and Wozniak met through a mutual friend in 1971. They bonded over shared interests in electronics and pranks. Jobs was charismatic and a visionary. Woz was a technical genius. Wayne, cautious but supportive, provided early documentation and mediation. In 1976, the trio decided to turn Wozniak's home-built computer into a commercial product. That product became the Apple I. Unlike other kits on the market, it came fully assembled. They sold 50 units to Byte Shop and officially founded Apple Computer Incorporated on April 1st, 1976. They worked out of Jobs' family garage at 2066 Crest Drive in Los Altos. Wozniak remembers balancing circuit boards on his knees while Jobs handled phone calls to suppliers. Jobs' adoptive father, Paul Jobs, had converted the garage into a makeshift workspace. Personal stories abound, from Woz's jokes about how cramped it was, to Jobs insisting on high aesthetic standards even for unseen parts of the motherboard. It wasn't glamorous, but it was revolutionary. Before the Apple I, computers were large, industrial machines used by corporations or universities. They were programmed with punch cards, had no screens, and were inaccessible to average consumers. Apple changed that by simplifying the experience. The Apple II, launched in 1977, was the breakthrough. It featured colored graphics, a keyboard, and a plastic casing, radical at the time. It was the first mass-market personal computer and helped fuel Apple's early growth. It became a fixture in schools, homes, and offices. Apple then worked on the Lisa, released in 1983. It was the first commercial personal computer with a graphical user interface, GUI, and a mouse. Lisa introduced drag and drop, file icons, and pull-down menus, features now taken for granted. But its $10,000 price tag and underwhelming performance doomed it to failure. Many of Lisa's innovations were integrated into the Macintosh. The Macintosh debuted in 1984 with one of the most iconic ads in history. Directed by Ridley Scott, the 1984 Super Bowl commercial portrayed Apple as a liberator from the conformity of IBM. IBM, with its cold, gray machines and business-like tone, represented corporate control. Apple was colorful, youthful, and rebellious. The Mac was compact, friendly, and visually driven, ushering in the era of intuitive computing. It laid the foundation for everything Apple would become. Despite the Mac's acclaim, it underperformed in sales. Jobs clashed with CEO John Sculley over Apple's direction. Jobs pushed for rapid innovation and risk-taking.
Today will be the beginning of an alternative to IBM's vision of the office. An alternative that starts with people rather than mainframes. Thank you very much.
Sculley, brought in from Pepsi, favored business stability and profitability.
So I want to tell you about important refinements that we've made in our strategy. Refinements which will dramatically strengthen our relationships with two key groups.
Their philosophies collided. The board sided with Sculley. In 1985, Jobs was stripped of power and resigned. He sold most of his Apple stock and walked away, devastated. Without Jobs, Apple stumbled. Products lacked focus. The Newton Message Pad, launched in 1993, was meant to be a PDA with handwriting recognition, but it was clunky, inaccurate, and expensive. The Newton flopped hard. Throughout the 90s, Apple's product line grew confusing. Clone licensing, poor design choices, and executive turnover plagued the company. By 1996, Apple was hemorrhaging money and relevance. In 1996, Apple acquired NEXT for $429 million, bringing Steve Jobs back into the fold. NEXT was a computer company founded by Jobs after he left Apple. It made high-performance workstations for education and business, and its NEXT Step OS would eventually become the foundation for Mac OS and iOS. Jobs returned as advisor, but soon became interim CEO. He quickly restructured Apple, slashing product lines and focusing on 4 key areas: consumer desktop, consumer portable, professional desktop, and professional portable. This simplified approach helped clarify Apple's direction, reduced confusion among customers, and allowed the company to innovate more effectively within clearly defined categories. He negotiated a surprising alliance with Microsoft, securing a $150 million investment, a promise to keep Microsoft Office on Mac, and a public show of support from Bill Gates via satellite at Macworld 1997. Jobs' first major product on return was the 1998 iMac. Designed by Johnny Ive, it was translucent, playful, and internet-ready. Jobs realized the internet was the next big thing, and the iMac came with built-in Ethernet, modem, and browser software. No configuration needed. Plug in, log on. The iMac sold over 6 million units and brought Apple back into profitability. It became a cultural icon. Next came the iBook in 1999. Jobs envisioned it as a student-friendly laptop and introduced it with Apple's new Airport wireless networking. This was revolutionary. No cords, just wireless internet. Airport used the 802.11b Wi-Fi standard and marked Apple's role in mainstreaming wireless tech. Jobs believed Apple should be the center of the digital hub, the device that connected music, video, photos, and productivity. That philosophy set the stage for what came next. In 2001, Jobs introduced the iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. It changed music forever. Then came the iTunes Store in 2003, allowing users to legally purchase digital songs for 99 cents. Apple made deals with major labels, built a clean interface, and seamlessly connected it to the iPod. By 2008, Apple surpassed Walmart as the #1 music retailer in the US. It didn't just sell devices, it owned the distribution pipeline. On January 9, 2007, Jobs took to the stage. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. The audience gasped as they realized it was all one device: the iPhone. The iPhone revolutionized everything: touch interfaces, mobile browsing, and apps. It ended the era of keypads and styluses. The App Store launched in 2008, creating an economy of its own. It transformed the iPhone from a product into a platform. Developers around the world could now build apps and distribute them directly to a global audience. It democratized software creation and spawned entire industries, from mobile gaming and social media to fitness and finance. The App Store made the iPhone indispensable, turning it into a personalized device for communication, productivity, and entertainment. Apple took a 30% commission on sales, creating a lucrative revenue stream that fueled its services division. Steve Jobs battled pancreatic cancer for years. On October 5, 2011, he passed away. Tributes poured in from around the world. Jobs wasn't just a CEO. He was a storyteller, a curator, and a force of nature. His vision lives on in every Apple product. Tim Cook, a logistics expert from Compaq, joined Apple in 1998. He transformed Apple's supply chain, cutting costs and improving delivery precision. Jobs valued Cook's quiet execution. In 2011, he became CEO. Under Cook, the iPhone kept improving. Better cameras, Face ID, OLED displays, 5G. He launched services like Apple Music, Apple Pay, and Apple TV+. Cook focused on continuity, services, and sustainability, turning Apple into a lifestyle brand. The M1 chip, Apple's first custom silicone for Macs, marking a turning point. With unmatched performance per watt, it allowed for thinner, cooler, faster laptops. It crushed Intel in benchmarks and solidified Apple's control over its hardware and software stack. The M1 fused CPU, GPU, and RAM into one system on a chip. The result? Blazing fast Macs with incredible battery life. Reviewers and developers alike called it a game changer. Apple's story is one of risk, reinvention, and relentless design. From a homemade board in a garage to global dominance, it's proof that vision, when paired with execution, can change the world. Which Apple product changed your life? Let us know in the comments. Hit like if you've ever waited in line for a new iPhone. And don't forget to subscribe for more business deep dives. Apple's story isn't just about tech, it's about thinking differently.